Chapter 1, Call of the Ancients. In distant times, when the lands of China were torn into warring kingdoms and myth walked hand in hand with reality, the sky gave a heavy sigh. The Qin dynasty was preparing to unite the Middle Kingdom, but the northern steppes concealed a threat. Nomadic tribes, like an uncontrollable whirlwind, raided and left behind scorched earth and silent ruins. Their raids were as swift as a lightning strike, and the consequences as long as an unending winter. Emperor Qin Shi Huang, a man of sharp mind and iron will, knew that sword and spear were only half of victory. A wall was needed, one the enemy could not overcome, a symbol of unity and strength. But he could not have known that in those same mountains that had witnessed the birth of China's first rivers, creatures long thought gone had awakened. Deep within the Kunlun Mountains, kilometers underground, lay halls of polished stone illuminated by the soft glow of unknown crystals. Here, in the silence of the ages, they slept, guardians from the depths of time, dinosaurs that had survived cataclysms and changing eras. Their minds were as ancient as the earth itself, and their knowledge was the legacy of a civilization that had vanished long before humans appeared. Their leader, the majestic Tyrannosaur Xilong, had scales the color of tree bark and eyes that gleamed with a cold emerald light. He sensed troubling waves beating into the fabric of the world, as if struck by invisible hammers. He summoned his conclave, Lian the wise Styracosaurus, whose horns were lined with cracks from ancient battles, Gen the swift Compsognathus, a master of reconnaissance who could vanish into shadows, and Feng the mighty Brachiosaurus, whose strength could bring down a mountain. They knew their era was ending, but their duty to the planet would last as long as it lived. Chapter 2, First Encounter and the Horror of the Unknown. Rumors of strange monsters reached the Emperor's ears. Scouts returned from the northern lands pale-faced, their eyes full of terror. They spoke of mountains that moved, of shadows that blotted out the sun, and of creatures whose voices made the air itself tremble. Qin Shi Huang did not trust rumors. He sent an elite detachment led by General Wang Li, a veteran of dozens of campaigns. Wang Li knew the value of discipline and a steel formation, but he had never faced an enemy that came not from a neighboring kingdom, but from the depths of the earth itself. At dawn, as the steppe lay drowning in milky fog, the Qin ranks advanced. The silence was broken only by the clink of weapons and the neighing of horses, and then the fog split with a deep thud, and the soldiers saw them. Styracosaurs smashed battle lines like dry twigs, pterodactyls dove from above, their cries tearing at the ears. Dilophosaurs spat viscous slime, paralyzing soldiers. Wang Li fought until he was surrounded, but before the enemy could strike, a roar rolled down from a hill, a roar that froze the blood in their veins. The dinosaurs stopped, as if to an unseen command. Through the morning mist descended Xilong. His gaze was heavy and infinitely ancient. He did not attack, he simply looked. Chapter 3, An Unexpected Dialogue. Wang Li, alive only by a miracle, stood before the giant. They were separated by ages, but not by the will to understand. Xilong spoke not with sounds but with thoughts that crashed into Wang Li's mind like an avalanche of images and emotions. He showed burning lands, armies devouring one another, and the destruction of the world's very fabric, but along with it the vision of a great wall, mighty and unbroken, blocking the path of chaos. Shaken, Wang Li carried the words to the emperor, and Qin Shi Huang, long accustomed to bending fates to his will, for the first time realized he had met a force no sword could subdue. Soon, under the shadow of the Kunlun Mountains, a secret meeting took place. Through Wang Li, Xilong said, "We are not enemies, we are guardians of this world. Your wars tear it apart. Build the wall, it will protect not only you, but the land itself." In exchange, he offered the help of his people and their technologies, inherited from a civilization whose name had been erased from the memory of the world. Chapter 4, Allies by Necessity. The decision to ally with the dinosaurs split the Qin court. Advisors argued, some saw in these creatures a weapon that could conquer any army, others a danger that could never be controlled. There were whispers of ancient sorcery and signs of the world's end. But the emperor, used to seeing farther than those around him, did not hesitate. He saw a chance to build something that would outlast the centuries. The project began one without equal. Vines and moss covering the mountain ridges were swept aside by Feng's mighty steps, his long neck rising above the forest. The Brachiosaurus carried blocks weighing dozens of tons as easily as a man carries a basket of grain. Lian and her kin shattered stone strata, channeling the energy of ancient devices into their horns, turning them into drills capable of splitting granite. Agile velociraptors carried messages and intelligence along narrow mountain paths no human could traverse. Dinosaurs brought technologies humans did not even attempt to understand. Energy cutters sliced stone blocks with hair-thin precision. Anti-gravity platforms lifted loads up sheer cliffs. The wall grew not by the day, but by the hour, yet tension remained. Some soldiers still kept hands on their weapons when a giant with scales and eyes full of secrets passed by. Chapter 5, Shadows of the Past. The Southern Kingdom's Rebellion. While stone was laid upon stone in the north, resentment grew in the south. The Southern Kingdoms, proud of their independence for centuries, would not bow to Qin rule. Rumors of demonic monsters building the Emperor's Wall fanned fear and hatred. Southern rulers saw not an alliance, but a threat. They gathered an army larger than the number of trees in the coastal forests. Taoist priests, clad in scarlet and black robes, summoned beings of earth and fire, golems gleaming like molten metal, and spiked roots that burst through the soil. Wang Li led his troops to meet the enemy. The battle unfolded on plains where grass swayed in the hot wind, heavy with the scent of magic. But the dinosaurs stood aside. Xilong watched from a hill, his eyes glimmering with an unreadable light. He wanted the humans to pass through the fire of battle themselves, to understand what they fought for. But when the Qin lines began to collapse under the onslaught of fiery beasts and the ground itself erupted in spikes, Xilong realized a moment more, and all would be lost. Chapter 6, Battle of Titans and Salvation. The signal was given. The earth shook as dinosaurs thundered onto the battlefield. But they were not blind destroyers. Every step was measured. Feng, a moving fortress, tore through enemy lines, creating corridors for retreat and counterattack. Lian struck her horns into the ground, collapsing the magical constructs of the priests. Pterodactyls dove, knocking sorcerers to the ground and breaking their spells. Xilong himself faced the fiery golems. His ancient armor withstood the flames, while his energy shield deflected blows as if they were striking water. Southern warriors saw these creatures were not here to slaughter them. They broke weapons but spared those who surrendered. By the time the enemy's magic faded, the earth was carved with claw marks and the air smelled of ozone, and yet more lived than died. This was not one side's victory, it was the salvation of both from mutual destruction. Chapter 7, Reconciliation and a Common Goal. After the battle, the leaders of the Southern Kingdoms were brought before Xilong. They expected execution or humiliation, but instead saw the giant lower his head, looking at them as an elder looks at stubborn younger kin. Through Wang Li, he said, "You are not enemies. You are children of this land, as we are. A day will come when true darkness will come from the north. Only together can we stand." He showed them visions of the future, a land torn apart by monsters, darkness creeping from icy plains, and a wall standing as a shield. With initial suspicion, then a heavy sigh, the southern rulers agreed. For the first time, people from every corner of the Middle Kingdom began to work together, side by side with beings they had so recently thought were myths. Chapter 8, The Walls Rise. The myth grows stronger. Work resumed with renewed strength. The dinosaurs' material replicators produced bricks and mortar faster than dozens of kilns. Energy barriers diverted rain and wind, allowing construction even in storms. People began to grow accustomed to their new allies. Children laughed as they ran alongside Feng's feet, and Lian let little craftsmen draw on her horns with charcoal. Soldiers who had once gripped spears at the sight of a dinosaur now shared water from their flasks. Songs dedicated to the dragons of the wall echoed through the camps at night. But beneath the surface of the world, in the cracks of ancient lands, something stirred. Chapter 9, The Final Threat. Ancient monsters of the north. When the wall reached half its intended length, the earth trembled. From the northern wastelands, where few humans had ever stepped, came creatures from the depths of time. Stone eaters, gigantic worms with armor shining like obsidian, and mountain harpies with wings that cast shadows over entire valleys. They moved like a wave of destruction, obliterating everything in their path. The stone eaters burrowed under the wall, collapsing fresh sections, while the harpies dove on construction camps, carrying off people and animals. This was the very darkness Xilong had warned of. For the first time, the alliance of human and dinosaur fought as one. Chapter 10, Echo of the Dragons. Through the ages. The battle lasted for days and nights. Feng, clad in ancient armor, stood over breaches, blocking the worms' advance. Lian collapsed tunnel ceilings, sealing the passages. Compsognathus squads raided harpy nests, destroying their eggs. Pterodactyls fought aerial duels over the wall, their wings flashing in the morning sun. Xilong faced the largest of the stone eaters. His sonic weapon shattered the creature's armor, and his powerful jaws ended the fight. Qin archers, now armed with new ballistae, struck precisely at the monster's weak points. When the last creature fell, the earth grew quiet. The dinosaurs, their mission complete, returned to the depths of the Kunlun, leaving behind silence and legend. The Great Wall stood in all its glory, not merely a defense against enemies, but an eternal monument to the alliance of those who came from different worlds for one purpose. And in the wind that sweeps along its heights, one can sometimes hear a distant, muffled roar, a reminder that the ancient guardians still listen and wait.